Thank you for joining me. This is Winnie, your favorite faith-based blogger of the Wirehanger by Winnie.com. And you can join me as I chat with Miss Joy Gamble here, the CEO and founder of Flashed Inc. Okay, so thank you again for making time to speak with me today. And I just wanted to say, after visiting you and at your booth at Blogging While Brown Conference in Austin, Texas, and also finding out that you were the designer and the owner of Flash Inc., I just had to speak with you.
Of course, no, thank you. I'm flattered.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And just a reminder, The Wire Hanger by Winnie is a faith-based blog for aspiring entrepreneurs. And just knowing that you are the designer of the Flash Inc. tattoos, I thought that that was really cool and really inspirational, just from taking your artistry to a different level. I thought was really interesting. So for those who haven't been blessed with Flash Inc. yet, can you let those know like what Flash Inc. is?
Sure. So Flash Ink is a process of making drawings or ink into a temporary tattoo via an adhesive backing that can just be applied with the tattoo and water.
Okay.
And so it's very similar to children's tattoos that you might remember growing up with. They're just definitely more fancy and some are metallic.
Yeah, I like the metallic, and I liked a lot of the design that you had and that you offered. So, like, what inspired you to create Flash Inc.?
Well, originally I saw, I believe it was Beyonce or another celebrity who had actual temporary tattoos on through another company. And when I began to search locally for designs that I would be interested in personally, I couldn't find anything other than just basic bracelet styles. And so that kind of started me thinking I should just design my own since I like them so much. And so that's what I did. And I designed 4 different signature collection sheets. And one of them is a faith-based, more spiritual, I would say, collection where there's crosses and their own signs. And just it reflects different types of religious backgrounds that all promotes, peace and joy and love and happiness. So with that, I just began to wear them everywhere and had so many compliments and people asking where they could buy them and not being able to find them in stores. So that's definitely what spiraled me into being more of a retailer for profit business model.
Oh, yeah, and that's definitely how a lot of businesses start, right, from a need. So I think that's a really good point that you made.
Definitely. You definitely have to have a need or a value on what you're offering, a demand for the market, from the market, for whatever product or service. Otherwise, it's just a hobby, which is fine if that's what, you're into.
I noticed on the website that Flash Inc. also hosts events and that you travel to different events.
Yes. So I don't have a typical brick and mortar, which if you notice, a lot of the retail spaces are getting away from that and it's more online. And there's a new type of shopping, which is pop-up shop, where designers and actual brick and mortars merge. And the brick and mortar could be a service of hair or nails, or it could be a clothing store, or it could be something that has nothing to do with the designer's industry. And so they kind of collaborate to make these events. And so that's what I participate in about 80% of the time are pop-up shops. And I do a few trunk shows and things of that nature. Private parties are a really big hit for me, all the way from children to adult ladies' night.
So I have to ask, with the parties, what would you say, and still keeping it, confidential, but what would you say has been the most interesting party or event that you've hosted or worked at?
Definitely dealing with any type of adults, I think it would be more interesting than innocent, nice children, where there's ladies and wine, and people definitely begin to feel more comfortable, with me as a designer and married women or different backgrounds where they're just more interested in, adding spice to their life.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I'm a little curious. I know the old school tradition of Christianity, like for instance, my mom doesn't have any tattoos. She doesn't even have her ears pierced. And I am a Christian, but I have tattoos, and I just look at it more of an art form and not necessarily like disrespect to my body. But I didn't know if anyone has ever kind of confronted you about, I guess, faith, like tattoos, like, have you ever thought about, I guess, that aspect, or like, has anyone ever questioned you about that?
I definitely have a lot of women, older women, and some men actually, who are definitely part of the church and involved, that will get tattoos that are temporary, but they will definitely reflect their beliefs. So I have an affinity circle that is the figure of an 8. I don't know if you're familiar, but that circle within it has, it looks like maybe feathers that are in between letters that say strong and peace. So those type of things they wear very often to service and within the church, and the crosses or the Christian symbol that I have. So they're really popular, actually, and I think that it's received well just because, one, it is temporary. Yes, it stems from a, I guess, frowned upon gesture that you could do to yourself, but because it's temporary, I believe it's appreciated that there's an alternative that's not going to be detrimental to your body or to, religious belief or temporary thoughts, making permanent decisions. So it's definitely accepted and appreciated, I've noticed, from the older, more conservative Christian.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I just had to ask because my mom, she'll ask me, like, I can't believe, like, I have 4 tattoos, and I know people with, like, 40 tattoos, but she's just like, oh, my gosh, like, kind of conservative. So I was like, I had to get that out.
Sure.
Going back to meeting you at Blogging While Brown, I also learned that you're also, like, within the business partnership with brand partnering. And so I didn't know if you could share how important that it is to partner with other businesses, especially for those who are within the small business industry and new entrepreneurs. Sometimes we always try to do things on our own, but how important would you say that it is to partner with others?
Oh, it's highly important. If it was a scale of 1 to 10, definitely a 10, just because you meet new people. That's a authentic way to network, where you offering, something to someone else and vice versa. It's a powerful way to make more noise and stand out as a collaboration than to make little splashes single-handedly. And I know it's tough sometimes finding that good balance for a partnership as far as who to partner with, but it's just so much more powerful, and it should definitely be something that's at least attempted a couple of times before you kind of throw in the towel and think, I have to do this by myself, or no one really sees my vision, or finding a brand that's in alignment with yours. It can be a little challenging, but if you just think in your own network, you probably have brands or other companies, small businesses that are interested in you. If you just kind of sit down and get still and think about it a little bit longer than 10 minutes, you'll definitely come up with something good. And it's not a cornerstone for small business, but it's definitely a part of a solid foundation to grow from and just get the traffic online, the traffic within your company as far as maybe interns or people wanting to barter. There's just so many options when you partner.
Well, yeah, and, like, would you be able to share some of the other businesses that Flash Inc. has partnered with and, just, I guess, a brief, like, testimony on how it helped you or how it impacted you?
Well, one that really sticks out, Tiny's Tequila. I don't know if you're familiar with Tiny, who is the wife of a rapper, T.I., but she came
Yeah.
out with her own line of liquor, and that was a huge partnership for us, just being involved in her launching events she had throughout the states because of the brand association and her being on TV and having those type of friends around her and just her network in general and being able to enter that through a genuine medium where she's given us credibility and we now have that partnership. And the other major one that I can think of for this year has been just the I Define Me tour, which was launched in, I want to say it was Dallas, but they've toured the states, and that was natural hair, just a natural wellness type of tour, uplifting, motivational components, and that was really good, especially entering the African American community, which I'm involved in because of the Blog and Wild Brown conference, and just seeing a different type of woman that maybe doesn't blog, but she's definitely into natural hair care, wellness, and self-expression that's not typical or traditional.
Right.
And so within those partnerships, I also did an event that was in the UK, in London, and reaching that demographic alone was impactful, profitable, and it's just lasting connections more than anything. Because there's not a lot of state companies, when I say state, I mean United States companies, domestic, that have that type of, I guess, local component and local conversations with those bloggers or those, social media connections. So
Right.
that was also very impactful.
So how would you say, I guess, what advice would you give to someone who yearns to be an entrepreneur, but they're not quite at that stage yet? So, like, for instance, at the Blogging While Brown conference, there were a few ladies there who weren't bloggers, but they wanted to know more about it, and they knew that they have a certain calling, but in that stage where they're not really sure what to identify it with, but they know that they want to be an entrepreneur. Like, I guess, what advice would you just say that you learned in your early stages to give to others who want to create their own lane?
You just definitely have to know what you're doing as far as your passion. That's just kind of that foundation point right now. Just because if you think about if you're going to move forward and we're going to, just to draw all of this attention to yourself and really share whatever message or product or service you have, you just have to know and be sure because you will be tested between questions or you might see another product or service similar. And you just have to know what unique value you bring. And that's kind of the first and foremost. And it might take the longest to figure out. And so until then, just really research and learn what you're looking to go into.
Oh, yeah.
And just as an entrepreneur, just being involved with Blogging Wild Brown and having that type of entrepreneurial background, when you can mesh it feels like two different industries together and pull that type of power behind whatever initiative you have, that's going to give you so much more power than if you just were an entrepreneur or you just were a blogger or you just had a hobby. But diversifying your efforts, whether it is just a hobby or it's just more impactful, there's more influence, and I think that's what anyone who wants to create something, well, that's what they should be doing it for, is the influence and who you can help.
I really like that. So this is my last question, but I wanted to ask you, how would you say that your faith has impacted your business journey as an entrepreneur?
Well, you definitely learn different characteristics and personalities that may not have similar beliefs as you. And having that type of faith base will help you kind of determine people's morale and ethics and things like that. That's definitely helpful in the long run. And so leaning on your own intuition and your own foundation and your beliefs, I think you can see it in other people's or see the lack of in other people's systems, and that kind of helps with the whole partnering or what companies, it's a great opportunity, but it's not for me because it's not in alignment with my beliefs. So
right.
Just not settling because, it's the first or it seems like a great opportunity for someone who doesn't have your beliefs, shouldn't sway you to change kind of how you think and how you operate with that faith being, your foundation. And it really keeps you grounded when things are either really, really great and you're moving really fast. It helps just keep you level-headed and humble and grounded, or when things aren't going as planned. I know a lot of stressful moments occur as an entrepreneur, and you can definitely find yourself looking up from working so hard and feeling a little lost in different moments or things falling through that you can't control. So that definitely helps harness you and keep you centered.
I think that's like the realest answer I've ever heard. And I really appreciate it with it being for aspiring entrepreneurs. And I think that, this interview will really help them. And so I just wanted to thank you once again for taking the time to speak to me. And I was curious, how often are new designs available and where can we find them?
You can find them online at www.flashed.ink.com, and I post new designs. I'm a little bit of a design hoarder until I figure out how many people really love it, and I have them up quarterly. So they come into season just like the fashion. So I'm working on fall right now. So summer's out and ready, and I'll be launching fall in the later part of August. And winter will usually come out at the end of November. And spring comes out in March. And then summer comes out at the beginning of June.
Okay, that's cool. And if anyone was interested in having you host an event, how would they be able to contact you for that?
Definitely through the website. There's an option to contact us. And the email will come directly to my phone, and I'm really good about responding via email.
Well, that's cool, and thank you so much again, and I appreciate you. And you're doing a wonderful thing, so keep it up.
Thank you very much. I really am grateful to be able to share through such a great platform, such as your blog.
Oh, Joy, you are so sweet. Thank you so much for supporting the Wirehanger by Winnie.com. Your art of entrepreneurship is amazing, inspiring, and uplifting. I just love it, and I know that our listeners have loved